In a world that often celebrates extroversion, loud parties, networking events, and socializing as the keys to success, introverts can sometimes be misunderstood or undervalued. But introversion is not simply about being shy or avoiding people. It's about a deep, complex relationship with the internal and external world. Introverts find strength, creativity, and connection in solitude, a concept that is far more intricate than it appears on the surface. In fact, introversion can be categorized into several distinct subtypes, each with its own unique characteristics. Understanding these differences is key to appreciating the quiet power of introverts and their profound influence on both social and professional environments. In the realm of psychology, introversion has been a topic of great intrigue, often discussed as the counterpart to extroversion. While traditionally introverts have been broadly categorized as individuals who derive energy from solitude rather than social interactions, recent psychological research has deepened our understanding of this trait, revealing multiple subtypes. Rather than viewing introversion as a monolithic personality trait, it can be broken down into different forms, each with distinct characteristics, motivations, and behaviors. This nuanced view is supported by both empirical research and real-life observations. Before delving into the types of introverts, it's important to understand the foundational concept. Introversion was popularized by Carl Jung in the early 20th century, who described it as a focus on the internal world of thoughts and feelings, in contrast to extroversion, which emphasizes interaction with the external world. While introverts prefer calm, minimally stimulating environments, they are not necessarily shy or socially anxious. Instead, they often feel more energized and rejuvenated by spending time alone or in smaller, more intimate settings. Introversion exists on a spectrum, and many people exhibit both introverted and extroverted tendencies depending on the situation. However, introverts are more inclined toward internal reflection and prefer quieter, less stimulating environments. Recent research, particularly by psychologists like Jonathan Cheek and Jennifer Grimes, has identified 4 main subtypes of introverts: social, thinking, anxious, and restrained introverts. These subtypes are based on differing behaviors, cognitive styles, and emotional responses. Number 1. Social introverts. Social introverts are often considered the classic form of introversion. Contrary to popular belief, social introverts do not dislike social interactions. They simply prefer smaller, intimate gatherings over large parties or crowded events. They are more selective about their social engagements, favoring quality over quantity in their relationships. This subtype enjoys spending time alone, but they are not necessarily shy or socially anxious. They feel comfortable in social settings but prefer to engage in activities that allow for deeper, one-on-one conversations or small group interactions. Consider an individual who is part of a close-knit group of friends but frequently turns down invitations to larger social events or parties. They might enjoy meeting a friend for coffee or engaging in small group activities like a book club. For example, Emily, a graphic designer, enjoys her monthly game nights with 2 or 3 close friends but avoids large office parties. She thrives in these smaller settings where she can have meaningful conversations, yet she cherishes her downtime, which she spends reading or drawing. Studies have shown that social introverts are not inherently antisocial, but prefer environments where they can engage in thoughtful, meaningful conversations. Research by psychologist Jonathan Cheek emphasizes that this subtype is distinguished from social anxiety, as social introverts are not necessarily afraid of social interaction, but prefer less stimulating environments for engaging with others. Number 2. Thinking introverts. Thinking introverts are not necessarily socially avoidant, but are deeply introspective and reflective. They have a rich internal world and spend a lot of time mulling over their thoughts, daydreaming, or reflecting on various ideas. This type of introvert enjoys abstract thinking and often engages in creative pursuits. Thinking introverts may not actively avoid social situations, but their primary focus is on their internal thoughts and mental activities. These individuals often display high levels of self-awareness and cognitive engagement. They are not necessarily shy or withdrawn, but are more focused on their internal dialogue than external events. This subtype of introversion is linked to higher creativity, as these individuals are often deeply imaginative and find joy in solitary, cognitive activities. A good example of a thinking introvert is Sarah, a novelist who spends hours each day writing in her journal and developing characters for her stories. Sarah can participate in social events, but her mind frequently drifts off to her internal world, where she's thinking about her next creative project. She enjoys her alone time because it provides her the mental space to develop her ideas, and she often finds inspiration from introspection rather than external stimuli. According to research by psychologist Jennifer Grimes, Thinking introverts are more cognitively active than other introvert subtypes. They are not shy, but they possess a high degree of introspection and a vivid imagination. These traits align with findings from studies that suggest introverts, particularly thinking introverts, tend to engage more in abstract and imaginative thought, leading to higher levels of creativity and problem-solving skills. Number 3. Anxious introverts. Anxious introverts are more likely to avoid social situations due to feelings of nervousness or unease. This subtype experiences higher levels of anxiety in social settings, even if they are familiar with the people involved. Their anxiety may stem from a fear of saying the wrong thing, being judged, or simply feeling awkward in social interactions. Even when they are alone, anxious introverts often ruminate over past social experiences, worrying about what they could have done differently. This form of introversion is closely tied to social anxiety, and it is the type most commonly associated with negative feelings towards social interactions. While all introverts need time alone to recharge, anxious introverts may feel drained by even thinking about upcoming social situations and may require more solitude to cope with these feelings. Consider Michael, an IT professional, who often feels anxious about attending social gatherings, even those with close friends. Before events, he frequently worries about how he will act or what he will say. Afterward, he may spend hours analyzing his behavior, convinced that he did something wrong. Michael's anxiety limits his ability to enjoy social events, and he often declines invitations to avoid the discomfort altogether. Research on anxious introverts, such as studies conducted by psychologists like Jerome Kagan, has shown that this subtype tends to exhibit higher levels of sensitivity to stress and arousal in social situations. This heightened sensitivity can lead to overthinking and social withdrawal. Although introversion and anxiety are not the same, anxious introverts experience more difficulty managing their interactions and are often prone to ruminating on their perceived social missteps. Number 4. Restrained introverts. Restrained introverts are characterized by a slow and measured approach to life. They are not necessarily shy or anxious, but they are thoughtful and deliberate in their actions. They tend to think before they speak or act, and are not impulsive. This type of introvert requires time to warm up to people or situations and may come across as reserved. Even in social situations, they may appear calm and composed, rarely acting on a whim. Restrained introverts like to plan their activities ahead of time and are often uncomfortable with spontaneity. They prefer a slower pace of life and require more time to process new information or adapt to change. John, a software developer, exemplifies the restrained introvert. He likes to take his time with decisions, whether it's a personal or professional matter. When attending meetings or social events, he listens carefully and only contributes when he feels he has something meaningful to say. John is also methodical in his work, preferring to have a clear plan before he begins any task. Studies suggest that restrained introverts display high levels of conscientiousness, a personality trait characterized by careful, deliberate behavior. Research by Cheek and others indicates that this subtype is more likely to value routine and consistency, preferring familiar environments where they can control the pace of interactions. This deliberate, thoughtful approach helps them avoid impulsive decisions and allows for deeper engagement with tasks and people. It's important to note that while these subtypes provide a framework for understanding different forms of introversion, individuals can display characteristics from multiple categories. For instance, a person might be both a thinking and a social introvert, enjoying deep introspection but also preferring smaller, intimate social settings. This complexity reflects the nuanced nature of human personality and challenges the simplistic notion of introversion as merely a lack of extroversion. In real-life scenarios, introverts may adapt to different situations based on their needs. For example, an introvert who primarily identifies as a social introvert might still experience anxiety in unfamiliar social settings, blending characteristics from both the social and anxious subtypes. The concept of introversion is far more nuanced than previously thought, encompassing a variety of traits and behaviors. By recognizing the different subtypes of introverts, social, thinking, anxious, and restrained, we gain a deeper understanding of how introversion manifests in daily life. These subtypes provide a framework for appreciating the diversity within introversion, highlighting that introverts are not simply individuals who dislike social interaction, but are people with unique preferences, thought processes, and emotional responses. Research from psychology continues to uncover the intricacies of introversion, offering valuable insights into how individuals with these traits navigate the world, whether through the quiet reflection of a thinking introvert or the thoughtful restraint of a restrained introvert. These personality types enrich the social fabric by offering perspectives that are both introspective and deliberate. Understanding these distinctions can lead to more meaningful interactions, both for introverts themselves and for those who engage with them. For more informative video on the mysteries of our minds, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you.